Namaste. I'm going to share with you today some useful exercises from yoga for the feet. One of my clients is training to do an Ironman, and he's been having some trouble with one of the feet at the tops of the feet, some pain and some pulling and some tendonitis, I think, there as well. I think this is kind of a preventative thing rather than necessarily a therapeutic thing, although this will obviously help to heal from any muscle pulling or just tightness, really. Very often in training, whether it's running or swimming or cycling or gym training, we have certain stretches that we do, but we often forget the feet. So there are a few things from yoga that I'd like to share with you. So when you're ready, just come down onto the floor. These are very simple, just to get the feet moving. Really, this is a good thing to do before you start your exercise routine. So really loosening up. This is good for the hips, right up to the hips. It moves the whole, shakes out all tension and starts to warm up. So just waving the feet. And then you can paddle the feet and stretching the toes out as well before you put your trainers on. And then rotating the ankles, which is also warming up the knees, believe it or not, as well. So loosening up the knees. If you put your hands on your knees, you can feel the work that's going on in there. Don't forget to do both directions. So I'm going through this quite quickly, but obviously you can feel what works for you and what feels like it's moving. The good thing about yoga is feeling inside, feeling what's working. So just moving out the toes. So I've had peace and quiet here all afternoon, and as soon as I start filming, a train goes by, a plane flies over, and we've got olive pickers in the fields shaking the trees. So never mind. So that's for your feet, that's for warming up the feet. So the next thing we can do, I know we've got a pigeon going as well, that's great. The next thing we can do for the feet is to come up into a few different yoga poses. So one thing I like to do before I start this is just to because we're going to be stretching the back, quite lengthening the back. So I want to make sure the back is warm before we do this. So we're just going to have you roll up and down the spine like this. You can hold on to the backs of your knees if it makes it easier. I think it's rush hour in nature. Got all sorts of things going on out here. So I hope you can hear me. There we go. So what we're going to do now is come up onto the feet. So you might need to move yourself around a bit until you have the flexibility to come up onto the feet. Into a crouch position. Now if you have knee injuries, you might find this a little bit more of a challenge. So you can do this sitting on a chair as well. But if you don't have any knee issues, this is actually a great stretch for the knees, especially if you are into sport or working classes at the gym. So coming into this crouch position, I call this the balancing Buddha. Really good for stretching out in the feet, also stretching all the tendons around the knees and the thighs. Also helps you to bring your concentration back down, very grounding. So there's three positions to this little sequence. There's this one, but what I call the balancing Buddha. It's a toe balance. Then we're going to roll the belly onto the thighs and bring the heels down. And again, you can work up to this. A lot of my students struggle with this one, especially if you do a lot of sport. And again, if you have knee issues, this will be a real challenge. You can also hold on to a bar, like I've got here, like a balcony in the beginning, to help you build up to this. This is how I learned this, was using a scarf around a banister and coming into this. This is really stretching, not just in the feet, the fronts of the feet, but also in the calf muscles as well, which do tend to miss out a lot of the time with sport and exercise. Now we're going to come back up. So again, we're making this into a little bit of balance, which is activating the core. And then we're going to come forward onto the knees. So resting the knees on the floor and coming up. and this really stretches out the feet. So we're going to make a sequence out of this. So coming up, use your hands to support you in the beginning, exhaling down, inhaling up, thumbs to the chest, exhaling down, hands into prayer, inhaling up, thumbs to the chest, exhaling down, thumbs to the forehead, inhaling up, thumbs to the chest, exhaling down. Use your hands to come down, prayer pose, thumbs to the chest, exhaling up, and then to come out of it, either lower down and hold this for a few breaths, or come into a dying fly position. Give your legs and your arms a little shake. Now you may find that you've built up some lactic acid in your legs and your feet after that, so this is a great way to drain it all away. Stretch your legs up to the sky and give your legs a shake. Shaking is underestimated, underrated. It's a great way to release the toxins, even cellulite from your legs. Really shaking it out. It also is rejuvenating, it sends fresh blood to the brain, really helps the lymphatic system. And then you can move your legs. I like to scissor the legs. Really good for releasing carbon dioxide from the muscles, stretching out the hips. Again, keep the feet moving and shaking. And then you can scissor this way as well. Well done. And then to finish, hug the knees into the chest and just rock over the spine, over the hips. Okay, well done. And then rolling back up and down. Coming up to sitting. And into Namaste. Just one other variation that I will show you for if you have any knee issues and you still want to work on your feet. One great alternative is to come into downward facing dog, or in traditional yoga called the mountain. So I'm just going to show you here because the camera's quite close to get the sound. So we can do a lot of these movements. We can paddle the feet, we can rotate, just the same. We can come up onto the toes, stretch, not as much weight on the feet. So if you're new to that and you find it a real challenge, this is a good first step. Literally, excuse the pun. And then we can bend the knees like this and get that stretch right down into the feet and the calf muscles. And then we can lower them down one at a time. Again, really good for the feet. Up onto the toes, down, and then even over. So taking the weight over a little bit stretches the fronts of the feet. I hope that serves you and you're able to look after your feet as part of your routine. Namaste.